Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Alta and I talk about movies a lot, and sometimes I also post my travels. So when I watch movies, I examine them from a socio-cultural lens. So that includes things like looking at how race, gender, sexual orientation, disabilities, how those types of things, identities are depicted. I'm very interested in how the movies that Hollywood allows to be made, the movies that get greenlit, I'm very interested in how they either subvert or reinforce archetypes, social archetypes. Those boxes that so many of us are forced into. I'm very interested in how Hollywood depicts both marginalized identities as well as the majority identities, right? Those like accepted identities. Even if when I'm reviewing a movie I don't say anything about race or gender or disabilities or anything like that, it's still how I view the movie. There just may not be anything to say about uh those topics in the movie. So, with that being said, a movie like Wicked, yes, right up my alley. I love this movie so much. First of all, I'm a newbie. I'm a Wicked newbie. This is the first time I've ever been exposed to the story. So I've never seen the plays, though now I'm interested in seeing it on stage, but that won't happen until after part two. I'm interested in reading the book as well, but I loved it. I basically was floating in the theater. I've seen it twice now. Part one, when you give me part one of a movie and it's 3 hours long, this is how I want to feel. Like I want it to make me think. I want to, be obsessed with it. I want to be thinking about the little things and the big things. I want to be making connections to real life. 5 out of 5 movie. The acting is superb. The songs are amazing. It is visually stunning. The chemistry is on point from everybody. I loved everything about it. It's a 5 out of 5 movie. So this is not going to be a review. This is going to be more of an analysis of Wicked, of the story. And I'm primarily going to be looking at Elphaba, Queen, the Elphaba Glinda friendship, as well as Glinda herself. I will touch on other characters as they fit in those like pillars, those segments, but those are going to be the 3 main segments of the analysis. I'm going to explore a lot of the themes of the movie, not all of them, but a lot of the themes in the movie. So, systemic discrimination, the journey to self acceptance, self hatred being part of that journey, assimilation, privilege, hierarchy. Through this analysis, I'm going to walk through to how we got to the end where simultaneously Elphaba, this friendship helped her be strong enough, in part, helped her become strong enough to stand alone. And at the same time, this analysis will help explain why the friendship is not enough to make Glinda reject the power structure. So, with that said, I already said the disclaimer, right? Please keep in mind, this is my first exposure to the story. I don't know how it ends. I don't know what happens next. So please, if you have seen this, if you know the story, because I know you haven't seen the movie, the part two, but if you're familiar with the play or the book, especially the play, please don't spoil it. Like I've seen people be so unempathetic about that, where like people will be in comments and say like, I don't want to be spoiled, and they'll be like, this story is over 20 years old. Okay, and this movie is about 2 weeks old. Let's stay within that context. If it's not starring Cynthia Erivo and Arianna Grande, directed by Jon M. If those people are not involved, it doesn't apply. Please. Some of these I read it first, I already knew about it, I've been know about it. They be wanting to flex in the most unhelpful ways. So, with that said, let's get into it. If this is your first time watching Wicked, also, if this is also your introduction to the story, I would love to hear your thoughts at the end. If this is not your first time, I would love to hear your thoughts as well. Just please don't spoil anything. So let's have fun. Let's have some fun. So in the very beginning, Glinda asks the people of Oz and us, the audience, Are people born evil, or does something happen? Do things happen to make them evil? And then the movie goes about answering the question. And as it goes about answering the question, two questions for me are like, how much can one person take? How much should one person take? In the world of Oz, it's a very diverse world. At least this version that I'm seeing. Very diverse. People of different shades, people of different heights, people of different abilities. They even have talking animals that are fully integrated, fully a part of society and helped build the society in Oz. And Elphaba stands out, sticks out, does not fit because she's born the wrong color. About like 98% of the people that Elphaba meets in this movie malign her. She's a whole jump scare to them. They gasp, they shrink in fear, they run away, they verbally assault her, they scream, they're disgusted, they stare with open curiosity as if she's some exhibit. At all times, she is on display. At all times, she is being examined. She's living an examined life. No one cares to actually get to know her. They're just examining what she presents as and drawing their own conclusions and very loudly and rudely and meanly sharing those conclusions with her. Elphaba experiences her first rejection at the hands of the people who are supposed to love and protect her the most, her parents. Her mother is trifling, her father is trifling. She is raised outside of her home. Her home is right there. She is raised seeing her sister get all the love and all the doting and the overprotection. Meanwhile, she's basically being raised in the outhouse. I'm sure that, what was it, a wolf? Lives in a very like nicely kept home. But you know what I mean? Like she's an outsider in her own home because she's made to live on her father's property as opposed to like inside the house. So her first experience with rejection and invalidation come at the hands of her parents. Her sister is not so subtly like ashamed of her / resentful of her, and I'm going to spend some time talking about Nessa Rose. Her home life is hostile. Outside the home is hostile. So with all of that being the reality, with all of that being Elphaba's reality, at what point does she have the permission to knock everything over? At what point does she have permission to set fire to everything and give everybody a bad day? And with all of that being the truth of Elphaba's existence, of her upbringing, the person we meet at Shiz hates herself. She has been conditioned to hate herself by her father, by her sister, by everyone. She hates herself and she wants to be anything other than what she is. She is desperate for validation. Her father rejects her, so she creates a father figure in the Wizard of Oz. One, because he loves green, so there's like still a search for love there to be accepted as she is. She creates a father figure in the Wizard of Oz. And two, she sees him as a father figure because he has the power. Simultaneously, he loves green, but he also has the power to degreenify her, to change her and make her acceptable and presentable. She's seeking validation. She wants to go along to get along, but the thing is that society blocks her because it is not possible for her to assimilate. She looks too different. She is too unique. She stands out too much. That green skin is getting in the way. She has some power in her, like literal power, but again, she's taking her cue from society and from her father. She sees her power as a burden. So she never had anyone invest in her. So she never thinks to invest in her own power. We never see her practicing alone before she meets Madame Morrible. And so her power is this stifled, wild thing that only comes out in bursts of anger when she can't help but to express herself. Elphaba is so desperate for acceptance and validation that when Glinda shows her an ounce of kindness at the dance, an ounce of kindness, she grabs it with both hands. Glinda shows up I can't help but do the quotes. Glinda shows up for her when she's at her lowest, after putting her there, um, and joins her during the dance. An incredible scene that made me cry both the first time and the second time. The second time I cried even harder. She joins her, and it means so much to Elphaba that she goes along with like everything else, with whatever Glinda wants. So let's talk about the friendship between them. And let's talk specifically about what the friendship does for Elphaba. So up until the dance, Glinda spends the movie tormenting the ever-living hell out of Elphaba. Again, Elphaba is in a situation where the place where she lays her head is hostile, and that's sweet, and the place outside, and the wider Shiz community is hostile. So at the dance, after Glinda succeeds in cracking her spine, making her heal, after Glinda succeeds, she joins Elphaba in isolation as Elphaba is performing that dance. And can somebody please tell me why we think she danced? I can't figure out why she busted out into an 8 count. Like, the best I can think of is that everyone was looking at her and has been looking at her like she's a freak show, like she's an attraction. And so maybe she was thinking, like, I might as well give you a show. And so she hits a little this, and she hits a little this, and she hits a little this. Maybe that's the best I can come up with. Because why start dancing when everybody's like looking at you? And if Glinda hadn't come to join her, what was she gonna do? Just turn around and go? So after driving Elphaba to her lowest point, Glinda shows mercy. Glinda tells us who she is, like, throughout the movie. And every song she's sang up to that point, up to the dance, she tells us who she is. But 3 scenes for me in particular sum up everything about her. The first being the opening scene, right? Where the town is celebrating Elphaba's death, and Glinda floats in, and the first words out of her mouth are, "Let us be glad, let us be grateful." She joins the town in celebrating Elphaba's death. Listen, part 2 could open with Glinda sliding down the shower, crying, throwing up snot, giving me the Kerry Washington lips trembling. It's up and stuck for her. Like, what was shown of her, not just in the past at school, but in that opening scene, is despicable. Like, there's no coming back from that. I'll take whatever it is that they tell me in part 2, but overall, in conclusion and summary, she ain't shit. So, when that one girl, no, it's a woman, ask her, like, hey, is it true you were her friend? She does the most to distance herself. We crossed paths way back when at school some time ago. So there's that scene. There is the scene at the library when she sends Bob over to Nessa, and Fiyero says, "You're good." And she says, "I don't know what you're talking about. I love helping others." She knows who she is. She knows of her power. She knows of her effect on people. She knows what people want from her. She knows that people will do anything for her. And she knows that people will fall at their knees to validate her. She knows who she is. She is very aware of her potential, and she uses that potential for her own good. Not anybody else's, for her own good. Up until like that moment at the dance, but we'll talk more about that. And the third scene that tells me everything I need to know about Elphaba is at the dance when Fiyero, is watching along with everyone else as Elphaba crumbles, and he says something like, "It's amazing that she's not bothered by this." Or she doesn't let this get to her. And Glinda says, "Of course it gets to her. Like, it would get to anyone." This isn't her having an epiphany. This tells me that Glinda knows everything she's doing, everything she's saying, leading the school and singing about how much they loathe Elphaba, the torment and the sweet. She knows it gets to Elphaba. She just does not care. She has no reason to care. She's aware of of Elphaba's personhood, it just doesn't matter to her because Elphaba is beneath her. She's aware of that, and that's important to her as she displays and when she's singing popular. It's just that in that moment at the dance, after Madame Morbo tells her what Elphaba did for her, she is phased. This is probably the first time in all her life that someone who is beneath her has opened a door for her. And so in that moment, she's undone by her undoing of Elphaba. And so she goes out and joins Elphaba in isolation, which is not possible because Glinda is so privileged that she joins her in isolation, but really what happens is she doesn't lose socially, because when she joins Elphaba in the beautiful, beautiful moment, beautiful dance, Cynthia is so like incredible in this scene and in this moment, and the way Glinda like holds her cheek, it's beautiful. It's also sinister, and I love the layers in this movie. Glinda, by joining her, shifts the entire ecosystem of how Elphaba is treated. Everyone looks at her weird, but like they join in, they follow. And then it's bygone be bygones. Bygones be bygones. And Glinda had the power to do that all along, and she knows that. So Glinda is undone by the fact that the monster doesn't have a comeback, right? Plus what Elphaba did for her. And I say all of that to say this. I do believe that Glinda is sincere in the moment. That's the thing. It's not like she's like scheming and conniving. She shows up sincerely at every point in this movie. She shows up knowing and telling everyone else, including Elphaba and Popular, that she is at the top. Elphaba is beneath her. So what does this friendship do for Elphaba? This friendship validates her. This is the validation that she's seeking. Is it the final boss of validation that's gonna like lock her core into place? No, it's not. But this validation is important to get her to where she needs to be. The bully has changed her mind. What a story, what a fairy tale. Like the very people who hate you, like her father, right? The people who are the most accepted in society finally see it for her. Glinda says when she joins her, tells the school she is valuable now, like she is accepted now. And this is what Elphaba has always wanted. And this is what she has been seeking. Even though she's been quipping back and, has a spine about her and is defending herself against Glinda up to this point, deep down, she just wants to be accepted. Glinda decides she's worthy. And because Glinda's opinion and actions carry so much weight, the whole school gets off of her back. This moment that Elphaba experiences with Glinda, where the favor, like the care that Glinda shows in that moment, again, like it's layered, it's not like completely clean, but this moment is what Nessarose thought she was experiencing when she went over there to tell Elphaba that, Glinda's found a Munchkin boy for her. Because up until this point, Elphaba didn't even have her sister as an ally at Shiz. And so I'm going to take this one right now to talk about Elphaba and Nessarose. The Elphaba-Nessarose dynamic is very much Cinderella and her evil stepsisters. Not that Nessarose is evil, but that whole thing where like the parent creates a dynamic where one sibling is subservient to another. That's the dynamic that Elphaba and Nessarose has. She is clearly a caretaker. Maybe may have even been serving her sister alongside the wolf or bear. I don't remember what the animal was. And this is seen by how the father talks to Elphaba and how he like leaves her in charge to look after her. I think the way that Nessarose treats Elphaba in the movie is a product of how she was raised. Like she was conditioned to take advantage of Elphaba, like to see right through her, to not like her norm is for Elphaba to be rejected. We never see her like giving a damn about Elphaba or the treatment that Elphaba is receiving at the school. As a matter of fact, After Bach asked her out, she goes to tell Elphaba, and in a very like disgusting exchange, Elphaba is about to like, I guess, share her hesitations about Glinda doing her this favor, and Nessa Rose says, "Stop. Don't you dare say another word against her." Excuse me? Did she miss what is this feeling? When the whole school was singing about how much they loathe her, led by Glinda. What do you mean, don't you dare say another word against her? Because Glinda has done her this favor, this solid, she hushes Elphaba about saying anything bad about Glinda. That's trifling. And so now I'm wondering, where was she during that number? Was she humming in the background? There's that. And then she gives Elphaba this attitude, only to later at the dance tell Bach, like, oh, you only asked me out because I'm in this chair. Now she's wrong about that. But I'm like, is this like doubt that came in afterwards? Because you sure were talking out the side of your neck when Elphaba was trying to warn you about Glinda. But the worst scene for Nessa Rose is the dance scene. Again, that reveals the dynamic between her and her sister, which is when Elphaba is experiencing, up to that point, the worst moment in her life. Nessa Rose is just sitting there, and all she can spare her sister is, "I can't watch, or I can't look." Really? That's all you got for, like, I understand, like, as someone with siblings, it's natural to like take your sibling for granted, but to this extent, the whole school is against her. She doesn't take her ass out there to stand alongside her sister in solidarity. No, she's with the crowd. That's why she wants to be. I understand that she wanted a do-over, like this was supposed to be her fresh start, to not be associated with the green monster. Like, I understand that to a certain extent. My sympathy for her is gone. Like, Elphaba is dealing with such serious things, like serious discrimination, that for her to be pissy about the fact that, like, oh, now people will like forever time me as your sister when I wanted a French start, I don't feel bad for her. Not to mention, based on what happens in the first flashback scene, when she gets to Shiz, I don't think making friends has been one of Nessa Rose's problem. She wants autonomy. She wants to not be like smothered by her father. And yes, she doesn't want everyone to just be focused on her nasty sister. But Elphaba is standing right there when like she starts to go into the school, and like 3 people come up to her and immediately start being her friend. So like making friends is not her problem. Nessa Rose is the worst sister in the world. So Nessa Rose abandons her sister to be part of the in crowd. And the thing is, it's like I said, it's exactly what Elphaba wants too. Up until this point, Elphaba is just like Nessa Rose, is just like Bach, is just like everyone else who's falling at Glinda's feet. She ultimately wants Glinda's favor, especially because she's up until the dance, she's been experiencing the worst type of attention from Glinda. The problem is, being Glinda's friend comes with an asterisk, because they become friends and immediately Glinda calls her a project. Glinda calls her a project. She insults her throughout Popular. She insults her looks. She insults the way she dresses. She insults her, like, basically like picking at her wounds. The fact that she doesn't belong. Popular is a great song, but it's very insulting towards, it's like the things that Glinda's saying in that song, they're not cute, they're not quirky, they're funny, but they're harmful. They're mean towards Elphaba. But Elphaba doesn't care. She's smiling. She's excited because these slight insults are so much better. There's such an improvement over the outright balls out torment that Glinda was subjecting her to. Glinda actually has hopes for her now. Like, she's expressing goals for Elphaba, something that she's never had in her life. And Glinda is the second person to dream for her. Like Glinda's dreaming that she's gonna be popular. She's gonna know how to talk to boys. She's gonna start getting all these positive attention. It's incredible. It's intoxicating. And Glinda's the second person to do that. The first person is Madame Morrible. Madame Morrible is the first person to come to Elphaba and be like, "You're amazing. You have potential. I see potential in you. I'm going to take you under my wing and I'm going to develop you." Like, she literally says, like, after the exchange, Elphaba's like, "Did that really just happen?" Like, because nobody invests in her. So Madame Morrible does, and now Glinda does too. And so the particulars of what Glinda's saying and the implications, who cares? Another reason that Elphaba doesn't care is that Glinda joins her in hating her skin, right? Glinda fully supports Elphaba's desire to degrinify herself and bleach her skin. And so, like, that's another thing they bond over. Now, is it Glinda's responsibility to help Elphaba love herself? That would be nice. It's not a good look, and it doesn't help that, like, Elphaba's skin is big part of why Glinda was being so cruel to her. And so for her now to be her friend and still be calling her a lost cause and all that stuff, like, it's not helpful to Elphaba's, that part is not helpful to Elphaba's journey. But again, Elphaba is someone with very low self-esteem who hates herself, and so she'll accept anything. Any display of friendship, any display of niceness, even if it's not kindness. Again, Glinda she's sincere. She's being real. Like, when she tells her, like, "Hey, what happened to your mom is not your fault. Your sister's disability is not your fault. Like, even though it's your secret, that's not your fault." Like, it's sincere. She says some nice things, but overall, she is harmful to Elphaba's self-worth and development. And you see how desperate Elphaba is and how deep in the bottom she's starting from, because in that amazing moment when Glinda puts the flower in her hair and she tears up, like, Glinda puts something delicate on someone who she has treated so indelicately. So yeah, Elphaba is soaking everything she can from Glinda's change in attitude. Mind you, no one apologizes to Elphaba. Glinda doesn't apologize. No one in the school apologizes. But hey, the torment has stopped, and that is literally the least she can ask for. While Glinda sees Elphaba as a project and tells her so, and in terms of the hierarchy, it's throughout the song. Like, she's up here, she's gonna help Elphaba get here, because she tells us at the end, like, "You're never gonna be as popular as me." Like, she holds the keys. She's never gonna let her actually stand beside her. It's always gonna be like a hierarchy. On the other hand, Elphaba sees Glinda as a true friend, not someone who she can be like an actual friend. So much so that when she's about to experience the most important moment in her life, she wants Glinda there. She wants her to experience her change of identity. She wants her to be the first person to see the new her. In addition to everything I've said, the reason why the friendship is ultimately not what Elphaba needs is because someone with the position that Elphaba occupies in society, being so marginalized, she needs a friend who will stand in the gap with her. She needs a friend that when the going gets tough, the friend will, like, put up her fist. That's not what she has in Glinda. Glinda, when the going gets tough, she gets going. She's out of here. It's a bad friendship because when shit starts hitting the fan, Glinda blames Elphaba for what's happening. She says, "I hope you're happy. You're hurting your cause." She punishes Elphaba at the end with her words because Elphaba won't appease the powers that be, which makes sense because Glinda herself is the power that be. So we have Elphaba occupying the second to last rung in the hierarchy. The people who occupy the very last rung in the hierarchy are the animals. The animals are presently literally being erased. They're losing their language. They are being erased from the fabric of society. So their contribution to society is being erased. Their contribution in the arts, academia, science, religion. Their story is being rewritten. Their autonomy and ability for self-determination is being stolen from them. They occupy the very bottom. It's the treatment of the animals, their erasure makes me think of, taking books by Black authors and LGBTQIA writers out of the classroom. It's giving, the narrative that Black people didn't exist before slavery. It's giving, Black people never in America and on the continent of Africa didn't contribute anything to society before like the white man showed up and and developed them. It's giving erasing the contributions of indigenous people so that their position in these, especially the racial groups, the marginalized racial groups are positioned as, always being helped and not necessarily the helpers, the innovators, the people who are out just, discovering, like traveling, circumnavigating the globe and meeting other cultures. That's what the treatment of the animals brings up for me. And so Elphaba occupies the second to last rung, and she dares to fall in love, develop a crush on this guy who's on the upper echelon, a prince. Now, something that was easy for me to miss, and I didn't think about until a few days after seeing the movie, is that Elphaba herself is supposed to be part of the upper echelon, right? Like she's at a school, like her father's a governor. She's at a school with Glinda and a prince. Like everybody at that school, they're not poor, So she's supposed, but she's rejected, because of her skin color. She has the nerve to fall for the beauty standard. This guy who meets the beauty standard in every way, who meets all kinds of standards. Where does she get the nerve? And she asks herself that same question in the song, I'm Not That Girl. In that song, we see Elphaba doing the work of society, right? She's counting herself out. Her conditioning is working. And while Glinda acknowledges and values the hierarchy between them and popular, it's in this song that Elphaba is acknowledging that there's a hierarchy between her and her friend. Glinda is, I don't remember the words that she used to describe her, but basically like she is like approved. She is like well bred and accepted, and she like Glinda's that girl, not her. I do love Elphaba's connection with Fiyero. I love that. Now, Fiero's no savior, okay? He is problematic as well. Like, I mean, the man walks in and is stepping on books, using them as skateboards, throwing the books, encouraging anti-intellectualism. He's taken and kicked out of school. Like, he doesn't come to her rescue, but he does affirm her. And I think the connection that she has with Fiyero is as important in bringing her up to that point where she can stand on her own in the last few scenes. Fiyero is the only person, I don't really count Madame Morrible only because she had the vantage point of watching from on high when Elphaba was stopping that teacher. Fiyero rocks up on her at night, I believe, and he doesn't do the jump scare. He doesn't do the exaggerated, like, no disgust, nothing. Like, he interacts with her as a person, a human being. She does her script, and he calls her defensive, and it's like, to me, it's any wonder that Elphaba has any defenses at all with the way people treat her. But like all he sees is the girl who is not falling for his flirtations. And what is that? There's that. There's also the fact that like after Glinda works her magic, Fiyero says to her, "You don't need that. You don't need all that. You don't need any of that." And she's still green when he says it. I love it. It's very important. And Fiyero is also the only person to show initiative for someone less marginalized than him. After Elphaba puts everyone to sleep, he springs into action to get the cub and rescue the cub. It's not that Elphaba does it and he's following her. It's his idea, and they get up out of there. Now, I don't know how she could tell that he's pretending he's not smart. But yeah, my girl liked what she saw. She is shallow, you know, but she also sees the potential in him. Yo, what is it about Jonathan Bailey? Jonathan Bailey, he is fantastic here, as he always is whenever I see him. The man oozes chemistry, okay? Anytime he's partnered with someone, he brings the chemistry. He knows his angles. He is so cute, so attractive. From chewing gum to Bridgerton to here, I like the pattern. I like the pattern. He is just incredible. He is so fun and nice to look at. His voice is beautiful. I really enjoy seeing him here. And he's funny, of course. So we have Elphaba, experiencing this journey, right? Validation from Madame Morrible first. Validation from Glinda. Validation from a cute guy, Fiyero. So she gets the like paternal, maternal, like parental type of validation from Morrible first. Then she gets the friendship. Then she gets the romantic. Amazing. I love this story. She's getting validation from all the people that she has been conditioned to want validation from. All the people she's been forced, not even conditioned, just forced to want validation from. All the people with the correct social markers, right? And finally, she's on her way to meet One, the Wizard of Oz, ultimate validation. And she gets to that mountaintop only to find out these people ain't got no power. These people don't have the power to free her. She's the one with the literal power. And she has to take on the symbolic power of freeing herself. The wizard wants to put her in a tower, and she realizes that she can take herself higher. It's a heartbreaking, soul-shattering moment for Elphaba. Defying Gravity gives me goosebumps every time I so much as think about it. Like, just from the way Cynthia sings, something has changed within me. Something is not the same. She says it's too late to go back to sleep. She's woke. Like, she can't. The emperor has no clothes. Her dreams have been shattered. There is no, like, freedom does not lay in the hands of somebody else. Not Glinda, not the Wizard of Oz, not Madame Morrible. She has the burden of making her own way. It's very, very sad. She didn't ask for this, and yet she has to build herself. She didn't do this to herself, and yet she has to save herself from it. No help, no collaboration, no backup, just her. And that note at the end, that note at the end, it's so strong, stronger than we've heard Elphaba be in this movie. It's as if, and in the soundtrack too, the breath she releases before she hits that high note, it's as if she's releasing all the forced acquiescence, the forced appeasement and compliance that she's been put through over decades, the anger, the frustration. It's like she releases all of it, and it comes out as strength in her voice. So Elphaba is marginalized, and she chooses to align herself with those more marginalized than her, and she gets punished for that. Now, I'm using the word choose very liberally. I was in a discussion with someone on Threads about because Elphaba doesn't really have a choice. Like I know, like yes, she has a choice. She could have, but after everything she's been through, does she have a choice? It's one of those things where like you drive someone to the brink and then say you chose this, which is exactly what Glinda's saying. To me, she doesn't really have a choice. Like I know she could have kissed the ring, but she has not. Like everything we saw of her, like I don't see that as a real choice. So here's the thing: she chooses to align herself with the most marginalized, and she gets rejected. She is offered a seat at the table, and she rejects the seat to make her own table. Now, the thing is, Glinda attains personal freedom, but she loses. She ultimately loses. And I love the duality of that. It's a powerful moment. It's very inspiring. But it's also an individualistic moment, which is like important. But in choosing herself and in taking her power, Elphaba doesn't destroy anything. She doesn't like destroy the wizard. She doesn't like save the animals. No, the power structure is intact, and it turns against her. Yes, she has power, tangible power, but so does the wizard. And because they have societal power, because their power is systemic, even though Elphaba finds her freedom at the end and takes it with both hands and says, I will stand alone, because they have the systemic power, they still get to do with her image as they please. Despite her defying gravity, they have the masses, they have the populace, and they decide, the wizard, Madame Morrible, Glinda too, they decide that she is going to be the scapegoat. Her marginalization is now going to be the thing. It's going to be key to holding society together. That says that it's important to claim your power. It's important to stand in your power. It's important to advocate for the less marginalized, but it's also dangerous. It's dangerous, it's unrewarding, it's isolating. Elphaba never finds, yes, she becomes friends with Glinda, but she never finds her community. She never attains one, she never builds one, no community like comes for her. It's incredible. It's incredibly sad. It's incredibly like heart-wrenching, and it's incredibly thought-provoking. So let's now shift and talk about Glinda's side of things. I'm going to talk about Defying Gravity, the lyrics, more in Glinda's segment. Like I said, 3 scenes tell me exactly who Glinda is. The first one, the first scene, where she lights the effigy of Elphaba. Let us be glad, let us be grateful. Acting like she never knew this woman. That scene. The one where at the library where Fiyero tells her you're good, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I love helping others. She knows she's manipulating Bach. And then at the dance when Fiyero says, it's amazing she doesn't let this get to her, and Glinda astutely, because she's always known, says, of course she does, anyone would. Tells me who Glinda is. And who Glinda is a mean person, mean-spirited, privileged, and actively dangerous at all times. She's ditzy, but not stupid. She is astute. She is observant. I said before, I think that this friendship does something for Elphaba. Like it validates her. It gives her validation enough to be able to stand on her own. Simultaneously, the friendship reveals things about Glinda. The friendship doesn't change Glinda in any way. She gains a friend, a project, but she never internalizes what Elphaba's going through. They never talk about, beyond when Elphaba admits that secret, and she tells her it's not her fault, she never comes into Elphaba's world. She relates to her on a very like superficial level with popular and the going with her to degreenify her. Glinda exists in a bubble, and being friends with Elphaba, the most marginalized person she's probably ever met, aside from the professor, but that's been that close to her, it doesn't change her in any way. It doesn't make her care about anything that she didn't care about when we first meet her. The only person Glinda acknowledges as being like her is Fiyero, not Elphaba. Glinda has projects, admirers, hangers on. She doesn't have friends. She falls for the intellectual because she is into intellect. She likes that he doesn't care for books. He doesn't care to involve himself in things that don't concern his happiness. And when he starts to think, it is a problem for her. Not because she wants to manipulate him, but because she does not want to deal with any of that stuff. Because thinking people are critical people. Thinking people want to help. Thinking people want to make change. And she's good. Elphaba's over here wanting Fiyero to rub two brain cells together. And that is a problem for the reality that Glinda wants to maintain and the comfort that she wants to maintain. Glinda's only interested in things that glorify her, and being friends with Elphaba glorifies her because, again, the hierarchy is very present in their friendship. Elphaba looks up to her. Elphaba looks at her like she's doing her a favor. All these things are happening around Glinda, chiefly with like the animals. Her damn professor gets dragged out and she can't be bothered. Glinda's the type of person to be like, well, have the animals tried not being persecuted? I just feel like if they would just comply. Anyways, what do you think of pink and white for wedding colors for me and Fiyero? That's her. That's her. She trusts powerful people just because they're powerful. That's what she tells Elphaba. I'm sure he has a good reason. He knows what he's talking about. Defying gravity says a lot about Glinda and Elphaba's dynamic. Like I said before, they both show up authentically in the friendship. It is a real friendship. It's also real toxic and unhealthy. No one should be looking at their friend like their friend is better than them, and no one should be looking at their friend like they're tragic. She called her a depressing creature and popular. Like, anyways, Defying Gravity reveals a lot about their friendship. They are talking across each other in that song. Their expectations of each other is unrealistic. So Elphaba says, together we're unlimited, and Defying Gravity. Together we're unlimited. There's no fight we can't win. Number one, Glinda's already unlimited. Glinda's already defying gravity. That's her existence. The world bends at her feet. She doesn't need Elphaba for anything. And then the whole like, there's no fight we can't win. Girl, what fight? Glinda's not trying to fight anybody or for anything. And if there is a fight, she's gonna win it. Like, she has the people in her corner. She changes her name to Glinda in honor of Professor Dilliman, and everybody acts like she marched on Washington. Like, the girl is unlimited. She's free from judgment. She's free from cruelty. She's free from questions. She's free from being held accountable. She's free from rejection. She's free from being bullied. She's free from being ostracized. She is free. So Elphaba is talking completely from her experiences. She's also looking at Glinda with rose-colored glasses. Because again, friend, who like did the bare minimum after torturing her for so long. Elphaba also accuses Glinda of groveling in submission, like to chase her ambitions or whatever. And it's like, no, girl, she's not groveling and she's not submitting. She's belonging. She belongs with those people. That's why she tells Elphaba, just say sorry. Because that's what works with her. She has been in the position of the wizard and Madame Morrible and wanting someone to behave the way she wants them to. That's why she aligns with them. That moment at the dance when Elphaba takes her hat off and puts it on the ground, I take as surrender to Glinda. Like, it just happens to put her in a bowing position. I take that as surrender. And so, like, when the wizard says, and Madame Morrill put forth conditions on Elphaba, it's nothing to Glinda. It's very familiar. So no, she's not groveling, she's not submitting, she's not doing anything that's unnatural to her. The wizard and Madame Morrill are where Glinda's gonna end up. That's the path she's been on from the beginning of the movie. She does not change. Even in Defying Gravity, at no point is she encouraging Elphaba to fly away. Even at the last moment, when the guards come and grab Glinda, Elphaba's looking out for her. No, no, leave her alone. She has nothing to do with this. It's me. I'm the one you want. It's me. It's me. She's looking out for her. Glinda never says a word to go against what the wizard and Madame Morrill want. It's never like, go Glinda, fly. No, go Elphaba, fly. No. Instead, she uses very harsh, blaming language towards Elphaba because Elphaba is not behaving the way she wants. She tells her, Elphaba, calm down. Why can't you stay calm for once instead of flying off the handle? Okay, Gaslight. Things are not calm right now. The damn monkeys just grew wings. What is calm about this situation? Elphaba was just used to, like, end these animals, these monkeys, end them, end their autonomy. And she's over here telling her, calm down. And, this is what she's telling her, I hope you're happy. You've hurt your cause forever. So this is Elphaba's fault. Not holding the wizard and Madame Morrill accountable. No, because those are her mirrors. She tells Elphaba that she's having delusions of grandeur. Just very unaffirming. Now, I do believe that Glinda is affected by what's happening. Like, her tears are real. I think she is sincerely afraid for Elphaba. But again, it's like she can only go so far. When I first saw after I watched the movie the first time and I was talking to my friend about it, I said to her, Glinda doesn't have the range. She's not interested in having the range. She can only go so far. She feels bad for Elphaba, but she's not going to join her on the lam. She's not going to make herself an outcast. That would be a threat. Joining her on the dance floor to do this, no threat. Like I said, that's no threat to her status. This, though, has she run with her, that would have knocked her off. That would have sucked away all of her privilege. And it wasn't even a thought for her to do that. That's why when Elphaba is very earnestly saying, are you coming with me? She starts sweeping and dusting, like she starts crying because she knows, no, she's not coming. She's not going to give Elphaba that. And she's not going to be that kind of friend. The friend that Elphaba needs. She's not going to have a revolutionary friendship with Elphaba. Absolutely not. And we have the very sad moment where, Glinda leaves to go find something because she says Elphaba's shaking. And Elphaba cries because she knows this feeling. She is abandoned. Now, the person who I was speaking to on Threads was like, Elphaba understands. Because Elphaba wishes her well. Again, Glinda is punishing her. Very punishing. Elphaba is very gracious and very generous. And what I said to that person was like, yeah, Elphaba understands. Is the kind of understanding that you are conditioned to have for your oppressor, right? Your oppressors tend to have like very good PR, speaking in a broad sense. Again, this is the thing of like, Elphaba sees Glinda as a true friend. I think it would be very hard to get Elphaba to analyze Glinda in the way I'm doing because like the friendship gave her such a reprieve. Like it changed her brain chemistry. I think it would take a lot of therapy for her to admit that like, nah, there's something very, very wrong with the friendship. So yeah, she understands. She understands Glinda abandoning her. Like, and I bet she would defend Glinda's decision to abandon her with her chest. This is the feeling that she's used to. Abandonment from people who love her. people like her sister, Nessa Rose, and her father, and her mother. Like, she's very used to this treatment, to people not sticking their necks out for her. So the fact that she understands does not in any way, it's not in any way an approval of Glinda, or even a minimization of what Glinda is doing. For a marginalized person to see someone more privileged than them in a sympathetic light, that's not revolutionary. But I do love the story for including this. And so, unlike Elphaba, Glinda is not going to align herself with the marginalized in any way, not even when that person is her best friend. And so, once again, ultimately, Elphaba stands alone. She never recovers from this. And ironically, she stands alone. She's abandoned by Glinda, but ironically, it is because of Glinda and Fiyero and the self-reliance that she's built over decades of abhorrent rejection. All three of those things is why she's able to ultimately say, "You got it, you got it." Like you got it. I need to look elsewhere. I need to look elsewhere, because looking at y'all and hoping for y'all and fantasizing about y'all, it's not gonna happen. I gotta go. And we see her at the end standing higher than the castle, higher than this place that she's always dreamed about, this place that she thought held the keys to her freedom. It is marvelous. She's free and she's damned by the system. Those are my thoughts. That's my analysis. Wicked is a fantastic movie, thought-provoking. I cannot wait for part 2. Part 2 comes out November 21st, 2025. I'm gonna be right there. And I will, of course, be back with like a more complete analysis once I get the full picture and I know how everything ends. Thank you so much for watching. Again, please share your thoughts. No spoilers, please, if you know how the story ends. If you like disagree with anything I said because, part 2, like, do your best to not spoil me. Like, I again, the person I was talking to is one of the people I was talking to is convinced, like, oh, anyone who thinks Glinda's a villain clearly hasn't seen the whole story. I don't think the whole story is going to change. The whole story will probably add even more like complexity to Glinda being a villain, especially because, like I said, I do believe that she is sincere in how she feels about Elphaba. It's just not enough. It's not enough in a dangerous way, because look at who she aligns herself with. But yeah, like this whole thing of like, yeah, you just need to see part 2 and then you'll understand. No, not really. I already understand. But yes, please share your thoughts. Please share what you've observed, the connections that you've made about the friendship, about Glinda, about Elphaba. And I will see you in the next video, which is going to be a review of Moana 2. Bye!